Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of the 9 candles. And this is Terry from Holding Your Space. And as you know, we're going to, Terry, do you want to sort of give them a quick fix on what you do?
Hi, everybody. Yes, I do meditations. Give guided meditations Monday through Friday, and we've got a meditation tribe that meets in the mornings. And then I'm also an intuitive, a medium, my channel. I do mediumship, and I work a lot with crystalline energy.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, welcome to the 9 candles. And as y'all know, we're going to go light the candles. So I'm going to go to the candles. And this is our candles this time. The stone I chose to be in the center is the chrysanthemum stone because all of these candles are flowers. So I thought I may as well have another little flower. And I also have my little desert roses here. And these desert roses are kind of important in this particular set of circumstances because the desert rose is a kind of selenite and they come from Oklahoma. Most of the ones I've ever seen are from Oklahoma. And they're used, if you meditate with them, you can cut power cords. They're good for cutting energy cords and breaking them. So we're talking a lot about breaking free of what we thought we were into what we're becoming. So here's our meditation. In this sacred moment, we gather to honor the journey of becoming. We open our hearts in this ritual, welcoming the potential that's within us. This potential, seated in our very DNA, holds a blueprint of our growth and transformation. As we light these candles, we invoke the power of the photonic energy, the very essence of light. The light symbolizes the illumination of our path, the awakening of our inner wisdom, and the nurturing warmth of universal love. Each flicker of the flame is a reminder of the divine spark within us, a spark that connects us to the infinite web of the universe. We breathe deeply, feeling the gentle dance of energy that surrounds us. This energy flows through us, around us, beyond us, weaving us into the fabric of existence. It calls us to become one with a graceful dance and to move in harmony with the rhythms of life. In this state of connection, we recognize that our individual journeys are part of a larger cosmic story. Our growth is not isolated, it is intertwined with the growth of the beings. We are strands of a great tapestry of the universe and the elementals, each contributing our unique essence to the whole. As we light these candles, we release any resistance, any fear of change. We surrender to the flow of becoming, trusting the wisdom of our DNA and the guiding light of the universe. We allow ourselves to expand, to evolve, to become the fullest expression of our true selves. With each breath, we feel the presence of the universe within us. We are not separate. We are one with the stars, the earth, and each other. We embrace the dance of energy, knowing that we are supported, loved, and guided every step of our journey. We carry the light of these candles within us, a beacon of hope and transformation. We step forward into our lives with renewed faith, open heart, and a deep sense of connection to the universal web of being. May we always remember that we are part of something greater and that our journey of becoming is a sacred and beautiful dance with the universe. And I'm going to light the candles. Hope they light. Day 1, day 2, and now we're going to go get Miss Teri's take on what's going on.
Well, number one, I'm honored to be here, Nancy Jean.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel like this is definitely the message that's coming in from the universe right now is that we are one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason why there's so much chaos and um divide right now on the
Mm-hmm.
planet is that um we're acknowledging that this is changing our story.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this story since we were born on the planet because that's what ego does and karma and whatnot. And that we are separate and that we're not, and that we're alone, that we're not part of that big picture. But once we change our story on the planet, it it changes everything. And I think everybody's reawakening. And I love that you're talking about this awakening right now. I feel like it's a huge part of everything that's going
Mhm.
on. I channeled some things. Do you want me to
Okay,
go
yeah,
through it? Does that work?
whatever.
Okay.
I'm trying to bring together a lot of different diverse views. We had Dorothy yesterday talking about astrology and the astrologic events and the things that are going on out there in space. And so yours is what you do.
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the best questions I think for a spiritual ninja move is who am I?
Mhm,
Because when we think about that and we really look at it in our heart space, it changes every day, but it also changes every millisecond um, because we're witnessing awareness, we're consciousness, watching what's going on, and when you take to that move of watching what you're doing in your day, your
mhm,
daily routine, the physical, watching how you're feeling, your emotions, checking in with your heart, and abiding every day, and then doing it consciously and witnessing it with awareness is the next move where we're just kind of watching things and it's not that we're not feeling emotions for what's going on, whether
mhm,
it's empathy or fear or anger or joy and excitement. um, we're watching ourselves do that, so
mhm,
we're going through that phase and that's completely in that flow that you were talking about. um, um, so consciously watching, being, and being is that big part of it. um, Foremost being the consciousness of waking, of witnessing without um, a uh, an attention or an attachment, pardon me, to the outcome. So, when we talk about fear, we're always like, well, if this happens, then what's going to happen to me? Or
mhm,
if that happens or that happened previously. So we're looking at the past and the present.
mhm,
And there is a lot of fear there, and sometimes there's a lot of guilt and shame there.
mhm,
And I think as things are changing on the planet, that fear game, that shame game is kind of arising so that we can look at what happened in our past and grow from it. Being free to feel your emotions while aware that you are in the flow and not attached to the outcome. This is the in betweening state. That's a new word, in betweening,
mhm,
of being lucid, present, and consciously aware of your emotions, naming your emotions along with your senses. And that's a huge thing on this planet. I feel like on other planets, perhaps they're not as in touch with their emotions and their senses as perhaps on this planet. Perhaps it is more ethereal in different dimensions.
mhm,
So, so that we can work with our senses and like smell fear, see fear. What does it look like? Um, Feel, smell, sound, and then look, watching. The ninja move of subtle senses, what
mhm,
the frequency is, remembering it, and knowing it and awakening to it are like the two big moves of becoming fully present in the light. This is being truly awake, awakened, and conscious.
mhm,
So, consciously looking at what's going on and consciously looking at um, if I feel, um, a thumping in my heart, if I feel fear in my heart right now, what does that look like? When have I felt that before? And you'll have an opportunity to look back and do some healing there. The in between time of positive and negative,
mhm.
and no positive or negative. So that yin yang, that duality of
Right.
this planet is changing. And that in between is the space where you can manifest, where you can kind of get to that space of watching things, witnessing them happening. We go through this many times daily, especially as children, expe- experiencing love on this planet and being present with love in our heart without judgment, unconditional love.
Mhm,
And I think that's sometimes why humans are so attached to our pets. because they give that unconditional love.
Yeah.
There is no judgment there. And that's what spirit tells me the most is there is no judgment on the other side, that you are always cherished, you are always loved. And that we can give that to others. We may want to set definite boundaries,
Hmm.
and but seeing someone else's light is a gift. Loving yourself enough to see others' light without judgment, like children. We may not enjoy them and have need to set strong boundaries, but we do see their divinity. Most of all, recognizing our divinity, beauty, and strength. And that's something again on this planet that we don't always look at. And I keep saying in this planet, but I mean while we're here in this lifetime, um, we don't see our own light, and we judge ourselves much more harshly than other people do.
Hmm.
So we're going through that, um, either whether it's shame or guilt or grief or anger, and when we feel that and we bring it towards ourselves, it does hurt everything. But when we start recognizing our light and that we're beautiful, um, inside and out, that everything about us is a work of art because we're walking in the light. Or not, and that's another big thing is that I feel like as we become present and as we start witnessing, there's changes around the planet as far as science and arts. We're walking into a golden age. So it's in the medical field.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful golden age as we start walking into that. Um, Most of all, recognizing our divinity, beauty, and strength. Our inner voice is a love poem by Rumi, um, or a King novel. So it's your choice, right? You can put your attention where you want it. And I love that poem that you wrote at the beginning, the prayer, because it's
Hmm.
like poetry. But but loving our darkness as much as we love our light.
That's right.
So yeah, yeah. And seeing our grief and seeing it with love and in our heart for cherishing ourselves, what we've been through, and cherishing ourselves where we are right now. Divine beings knowing, um, being one and witnessing our light and presence. This is when we have our infinite potential. So, the infinite potential of being able to manifest, of being able to be in that space where we look at things as a oneness.
Mhm.
And that's a true ninja move that I think we're getting to. And and we have a choice. It's a free will planet. We don't have to go there.
No,
And yeah, and we shouldn't feel guilt of and we shouldn't feel also um well, shouldn't is a big word. To feel the guilt of where we've been, there is no guilt and there is no judgment on the other side. And a lot of times light workers have opportunities for growth along their lifetime. And that can mean a lot of different things. It can mean grief, it can be shame, that something happened to us because we're looking at it from the outside. We're looking at it through ego and what would other people think? How would they judge
mhm,
us? That we've been through this horrible time in our lives and we've grown out of it. We've
mhm,
persevered. So some we love, and some people we have the opportunity to love where they're at and set firm boundaries.
mhm.
That's another big thing. So I feel like as we start understanding ourselves more and loving ourselves where we're at, um, I feel like we have the luck and the opportunity here on YouTube to be part of a community where we can't so much always in our daily lives, um, wherever we're living or with family or friends, and saying, "Oh, I'm ascending. I love myself today. I'm amazing today.
Mhm.
I'm walking in my light today." But we can come here and be a sense of community, and and where one or more grow, it gets stronger and stronger. And this morning in meditation, before I went on and meditated with my group, they were showing me big stadiums filled with light workers. And that was circled with other stadiums and other stadiums and other stadiums, so that it was just around the planet that this light was growing exponentially. Um, this is a place of synchronicity, infinite potential, drops of water connecting in the ocean.
That's, well, if you look at the vibrational, there's a vibrational scale, and at the bottom is shame.
Yeah.
And that's what ties us the closest into the 3D energy. And then the more you drift, the more you get up, the more you get out of it's all about me.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that it's all about we, that you get freedom to get up to where your vibes are about 1,000. If if you haven't seen that, I have a pendulum chart on my that you can get out of resources at my website at crystaldirections.com, and it explains how to do that. It actually has a little chart, and it tells you how to figure out where your vibrations are. And it's amazing the things that will bring us down. When Danny Shea and he did the final design. I'm not a designer, but he did the final layout of it. And when he did it, he he decided one day, well, he'd been up in the 800, 1000s, and he was feeling really good, And he ran downstairs or to another part of his house where his wife had some news on. And he heard this news and he went, oh, bummer. And then he went, I'm going to go check my vibration right now to see how letting that break into my sense of where I was has affected it. And it had dropped him 300 points. So it's a lot of what we choose to let in, and it really is a choice. I mean, I don't think you can stick your head in the ground and say awful things aren't happening.
Right.
But I also think one of the problems is that as many awful things that are happening, I can remember when they had real like printed newspapers, that you could
Oh, yeah.
go from one story to the next, and sort of like what you try to do on YouTube. But there'd be uplifting stories. There'd be fun things. There'd be something that was someone who'd achieved something or had done something or had come up with a way to deal with something that made it was very enlightening and was literally enlightening, along with all of the other stuff, the page one stuff.
Yeah. And I love that story about Danny, because that is so witnessing awareness. Like, he
Mhm.
saw his vibration lowering, or he could feel it. And
Yes.
and that's another huge thing that they talk about, is that, we use our senses here on this planet, and then our subtle senses are awakening. And that's part of it. That awakening is
Right.
witnessing it and knowing it and remembering.
And
Huge.
not being afraid of change. That's what the whole becoming is. It's it's an it's an altering of how we view things, because if you view change, and I mean for most of us, oh, my perfect example, my oldest son, when he was a kid, it would get to be summer and he had to wear shorts because in Texas you're going to die if you wear long pants all day.
Yeah.
So I I would literally fight with him for a week. And then he would get in his shorts and he'd be wearing his shorts, and all of that would be gone. Then it would come time where it's getting cold and you really do need long pieces of cloth around your legs. So I went through 3 years of him of switching from season on pants, just on, you know, you think when you try to put the long pants on him again, it's like some foreign object he'd never seen before. And there's just a part of us that has to grow through it and find out things can move and become something else, and it's not going to be the end of times. And I think some of us hold on to stuff like we're facing the end of times if we surrender to the idea that we could do something differently.
Right. It really is. It's that fear of what's behind you, the
Mm-hmm.
shame of what's behind you, and the fear of what's ahead of you,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being in that in between, that balance, just
Right. And,
watching.
and just move forward. Where else are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the alternatives of like stopping are not good, you know.
Inertia.
Mhm,
Inertia is huge. And especially, I think when you start studying and you're watching things and you're like, oh my gosh, because there's so much information, number
mhm,
one. And that's another great thing about watching the news is that or maybe not so great, but great that we can see it, that that can create a lot of inertia because it activates your anxiety and your fight or flight response easily.
Well,
So,
I can tell you, having run in particular political campaigns, but I also ran other sorts of things. There was a whole lot of, even in the most benign things, when I used to work for PBS, and our volunteers were there. Oh my God, if I don't show up and work on this and stuff, it's all going to go away. And I don't have the money. This is what I can do. Well, it's what they could do. And yeah, I mean, TV stations don't just open up one day because there was nothing else to happen that day. But and there would be volunteers that were totally motivated by fear. And they were some of my best volunteers. We really need this fundraising drive. And they'd all come trotting down. I mean, I'm guilty as the next person of using that. But fear is a very, very powerful motivator for a
yeah,
lot of people to get them. And um and it's a very different time when you have subjects that motivate people that are when they really want to stand for themselves, when they realize my rights are not going to be here or this isn't going to happen. That's, you know, that one can be just as strong, but it's a very positive argument, and it's easier to sell people fear
yeah.
than it
And
is.
yeah, that's a great point because I feel like I keep talking about on this planet. I mean, in this lifetime, right now, where we are, or where we see ourselves being, there is a lot of fear being given to us, whether
Mm-hmm,
that's through pharma, and like being sick, or perhaps it's by the news, certainly
mm-hmm.
by politics. There's a lot of fear-based things going on. Don't vote for this person because you're going to lose this, or this person's maniacal, or instead of, well, I think for the good of all, it would be nice to have people in Congress that resemble the people in
That
this country.
had actually worked a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, had done, some of the best politicians I know literally stumbled into it. One was a city councilwoman, and she was so involved in helping her neighborhood. She hung down at City Hall for so long, everybody thought she was on city council. And when her seat came up, when the vacancy came up where she was, the person sitting in that seat came to her and said, I'm not telling anybody else, but I'm not going to run again. So you can have kind of a jump start. So when she went to run, nobody else had had chance to build up the thing, so she got the job. She never had an opponent. And when she left after serving 4 terms, she never did have an opponent because she knew on the ground, she knew every alley, every street, everything about the people around them. It was very involved with the arts and lots of other stuff. She still is. And I was running the woman who was running to replace her. And I said, well, what about this tactic or that tactic? And she said, I never had to do them. I mean, the universe just opened up and that particular part of the city for a long time had and the woman I helped get elected came in and did a really good for the citizens job, not just, for the businessy people. Dallas has some very business packed areas. We have 2 council districts that have, I think 90% of the venues that you want to go to are in those 2 districts. Yeah.
Wow.
There's just and so, you gotta know who you're working with and what you're doing. But some people just are blessed, and sometimes areas are just blessed, and they get exactly the right people that they're supposed to get. So And I
Yeah.
think we just need to open ourselves up. I'm not saying to do it in that venue, but you can do it in your neighborhood. You can do it. There's an astrologer who says, think globally and act locally.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just going into a shop and giving somebody a compliment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or shining your light on your street corner with your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
It's the small things that changes. You don't know what that person was thinking about themselves or where they would have gone with that energy. And you come in with a smile and say, "Hey, how are you? You look great today," or giving a
Mm-hmm.
compliment of some sort, without being weird. So
And we don't have many really benign common experiences. I just went through one. We all lost power. I live in a complex of 300 condos and we all lost power. And so I met neighbors. I moved in here because we moved in the middle of COVID. So you didn't go knock on your neighbor's door and give out cookies.
yeah,
But I met a woman and I walked past her door and I said hi to her and her dogs, but I've never really spoken to her. Well, she was sitting outside because you're not going to sit inside. It's getting hot, right? And she had no power too. And she was discussing how they were dealing with it. So for the first time, I had a common experience with this woman, other than we live on the same street.
yeah, and I think seeing you can call it chaos, whether
Mm-hmm.
things going on the planets, or you can see that as an opportunity, like you did, to meet
Mm-hmm.
these people and changing your story on it. I mean, yeah, your power was still out, but you were seeing the good in it. And you were seeing how you could save things in your house
Mm-hmm.
by keeping your freezer closed. You were acknowledging that and working towards something.
And I
So,
also got to much better sleep times because you really do when the lights go out and the other thing is the other panic in your life is how much power do I have left on my brick to recharge my cell phone? You know, unless
yeah,
you want to sit in your car and watch your cell phone all day, which is not a lot of fun.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It is amazing. They do something in the East, and here too in the West called Vipassana, where you go through 10 days of silence
mm-hmm,
and not using that sense of being able to talk. It does open up all your awareness, and usually you're off your phone and
mm-hmm,
computer. And I did the Western version where it's 6 days of silence. I've done that a few times, and that was really nice. It really opened up new things, and those people that was with, and we couldn't talk, but gosh, I got to know them so well,
mm-hmm.
just through
My my church used to have a weekend of retreat of silence.
mhm,
It was run by I'm an Episcopalian and they were run by nuns, Episcopal nuns, and they came and so I was going to go do it. So I had two women friends who wanted to come do it with me, and we had friends taking bets on how long it would be before we would we'd speak. They said, "You got the three of you are not gonna, I mean, they're as chatty as I am. The three of you are not going to make it through a thing of silence." And speaking of, that's a friend of mine. Send love and light towards Mr. Bill. He had an open heart surgery 4 days ago, and he survived it quite nicely, which is really good because he's died twice on the operating room table when they're working on his heart.
wow,
And this time they just slid in. I said, well, hell, they ought to have all the passages now.
right?
Anyway, um, and that's the kind of change this is the kind of change we're in the middle of. And we're on a journey where the light is changing. We're getting all these coronal ejections from the sun, and it's floating down on us. We had one a couple weeks ago that about did me in, but they're changing us. They're actually go away, Mr. Bill. Um, they're anyway, all this change is happening around us. And it's like you said, it's where do you put your energy? That's going to decide what happens to the universe's energy.
Yeah, and the other thing is not having guilt about if you do slide down that road. Like certainly last Friday, I think most people on the planet were watching the news. I think it was
Mhm.
Friday, it might have been Thursday. And
It was Thursday that it came through.
yeah. So um so a lot of people, especially in this country, were watching the news
Hmm.
and not shaming ourselves or guilting ourselves if we slide down that rabbit hole and start to look at things and watch the news, and it's quite
Hmm.
interesting. So that's the other thing is when we're curious about things,
Hmm.
takes over a different part of the brain than fear. And so it's like gosh, I'm really curious about what happened, or I'm curious about
Hmm.
why somebody would say something like that. Like,
Hmm.
especially to us as we're empaths. So if
Hmm.
somebody says something that's rather hurtful, it's like, well, how were they feeling that day? You know, what happened to them that
Hmm.
made them want to feel like that? Changes your story a lot. Then, gosh, I can't believe they wouldn't like me because,
Yeah,
you
no
know, what
matter
did I
what
do to
side of
them?
that story you're on, there was a high level of an emotional pull. And
Yeah.
then it's like, that's when you have to remember, I'm an adult and I'm not going to sit here and gloat about this. You know, I'm gonna, it's a serious thing, that's happening in the country. And some of the divisions are serious. And I think that part of remembering, part of becoming something new is not being so locked to your tribe that you don't have some interest and empathy towards people on the other side.
Yeah.
And to try and remember we're not on different sides. It's the separation is an illusion. And the faster you can tear that down, the better off you'll be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people that are here on the planet right now are agents of change.
Hmm.
Now, you can be an agent of change as a light worker, and you can also be an agent of change in chaos.
To nail us back to our old history,
Yeah.
hold us back.
Yeah. And there is a lot of fear with some people because they want what they've had for so long, and it's fearful to go forward in something different. But I feel like if you're watching what you're doing, you're using your senses, you're abiding in your heart space, curious about what you're feeling,
Hmm.
curious about what other people are feeling. Um, it's going to really propel the whole planet forward.
Right. I always try to remember to give other people the same grace I would like about understanding my opinion, and
Yeah.
to try and do that, and actually not try to do it, because try is not my favorite word. When we're trying something, I'm gonna try and throw this rock down. I'm gonna try and throw this rock down. I'm trying to throw this rock down. I'm throwing the rock down. When you finally get rid of the trying in there, it works. Although sometimes we have to practice a bit before we get to the end.
Yeah. Being having clarity.
Hmm.
That's huge because I'm going to try is not manifesting
No.
um what you want necessarily. It's just given the opportunity, but doing it and saying clearly, this is who I am and this is what I
Hmm.
want.
And I am becoming.
I am the light.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Terry, today. And first, we're going to go put out the lights because we're going to, well, they don't really go out, they burn forever, but they're gone. Remember to do that, guys. You will have no candles left. At the end of 9 candles, you'll have two. Anyway, thank you so much for coming and joining us for day 2. And I'll put information about Terry and how to find her if she's new to you. Um, if you think this is a show that's worth letting people know about, please let them know, because we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 7 of them left, and it'll be every night at this time. And shows up as a premiere, and then you can just find it on my channel. But I think it's a time when becoming is really important, and I think we all need to understand we're becoming.
Thank you for doing this, Nancy Jean.
Okay,
It's
well, thank you
huge.
for coming, Terry, and thank you all for being here tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.